Welcome, Cindy Sorantlabati. I'm here at the Thato One Big Family Center, which is a center for persons that have been abused, people who try and advocate for LGBTQI community members within Tembisa. I'm currently with the Premier candidate for Rise Mzansi, Vuyiswa Ramokgopa. And she just finished speaking here today, and I just want to ask her a few questions for us on Rise Mzansi's position looking at 2024. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Cindy. So I'm doing well, thank you.
Today you had a great talk with people here at Thato One Big Family, and looking at some of the questions, some of the things that you raised with them, one of the critical ones was that police skills or development, and how running of our SEP services needs to be improved so that justice is better served to the community.
Yeah, absolutely, Cindy. So the attendees of today's session were by and large members of the LGBTQI community, the queer community, as well as allies of this community. And the issues that they were raising center around the manner in which their cases get treated when they report crimes to the police. So it's a combination of encountering discrimination at the point at which they are reporting crimes. It is a matter of dockets going missing and criminal cases not being adequately investigated and followed through. It is also a factor of those same criminal cases, even when they do make it to prosecution stage at the magistrates' courts, not getting seen to the end. Yeah. Again, due to administrative issues, sometimes dockets go missing, sometimes pieces of critical evidence go missing, and various other issues that are raised. And this is a fundamental denial of justice that we see taking place. It's not just about administrative inefficiency, but a denial of justice, and in fact an infringement on the human rights of not just this community, but in fact the many millions of South Africans who experience a denial of justice because of the inefficiencies in our policing services and in our prosecution and magistrates' courts. So to come to the question that you asked, Rise Mzansi is very clear about the issue of crime. Crime affects us all in South Africa. One may say we are actually the crime capital of the world in many ways. We lead in violent crime, we lead in rape and gender-based violence. These are not things that we should be proud of, but they come about also as a function of the fact that there are serious issues and challenges with the levels of the skill levels, professionalism, and ability for our actual police services to both report crimes properly and investigate crimes properly. And this is important because often when issues of crime are raised, the solutions are given as things like bring back the death penalty, or hire more policemen. It doesn't help to hire more policemen if you have more untrained people, or people who are not competent and able to do the job, or people who are not managed properly in the police stations. And if they are unable to execute on their job, it doesn't make a difference if you hire 10 more or 100 more.
Just looking at that, our police services used to have structures that had management levels, people who were not necessarily police officers, but were lawmakers, lawyers, and so forth. Now, it's been a while since I've heard of a police station having a legal office in it. How would you best see such things coming back into the SEPs across the province?
Look, I think there are a number of layers at which improvements need to be made, of which one of them is the one that you've raised. The other element, of course, is around the actual management of police stations themselves. And I'm talking about here the role of station commanders in overseeing the performance of particular police stations. Now, we believe that station commanders should ideally be appointed or elected or appointed by the community itself, and they should be accountable to that community. And they should ideally, if possible, even come from that community so that they can be accountable to the community. What we find is a critical loss of skill at that managerial level. And of course, the issues that you've raised of having a multitude of different services available within that police station. So let's come back to today's issue. When members of vulnerable or marginalized communities go and try and report crimes in police stations, they often face discrimination by police who don't necessarily have the requisite sensitivity training, diversity training, and are not able to actually understand the nature of the challenges that a lot of these communities deal with. Now, already at that point, if you're dealing with someone who doesn't even understand the nature of your challenge or doesn't see it for what it is, it makes it very difficult to be sure that you are going to get justice at the end of it. So we need multiple layers. We know, for example, we need to be able to have people who can deal with gender-based violence. So there needs to be specific facilities, even within communities and police stations themselves, where victims of gender-based violence can be treated with care, can be treated privately, and can have their cases actually recorded in an environment that is conducive. Similar to other marginalized communities like the LGBTQI community. They face a lot of discrimination and ridicule when they try to put these cases forward. And as we've heard today, many of them don't even see the end because they're not taken seriously.
Just maybe because we are pressed for time, looking at the road to 2024's 29th of May in national election, Rise Mzansi has come across and centered its manifesto around development of small businesses, developing the entrepreneurial spirit within the province. The issue with many is that skills for entrepreneurship within most townships is not as great as it should be. And most people need those skills to understand issues of accounting, savings, how to run a business, the separations of business account and a personal one. Such skills are not necessarily available for people in the townships. How best then is the goal of the manifesto going to be achieved?
So I think there is an element of truth in what you are saying, but at the same time, I take a different view. There are a number of people running businesses in townships, from hair salons to small grocery outlets to car washes to people selling food, people selling clothing. Like they are, if you were to drive down a main street in most townships, you will find a lot of economic activity happening in those areas, and that is largely done by so-called business owners. The problem that we have is that a lot of these business owners are not treated as so-called entrepreneurs. So these things you're talking about may not necessarily be part of their day-to-day, but they are very much entrepreneurs. And so what we need to do is actually enable the businesses and the raw and true entrepreneurship that exists already in the townships, in township areas, to thrive. And we need to do that by enabling the right kind of funding and financing for these businesses. And I'm not just talking about government funding. I think government must fund, and there must be specific products available, low-cost funding that is accessible, where people are not having to walk into a bank and find themselves getting rejected just because they don't have 6 months of financial statements, etc. You should be able to access a local development finance institution that can actually give you venture capital as a small business owner in the township, or as a black women-owned business in the township in particular. So one, we think funding is a key issue. A lot of businesses in the township can't access capital. That's why they can't grow. But we've seen, even historically, even before democracy, we had a number of people, a lot of other big names, who were running fully fledged companies, even with zero support. And I'm saying the spirit is there, it's the support that isn't there. So we need to create that enabling environment. Part of it, yes, is perhaps a skills issue. But I will say that I think it goes to a broader question of education and how we bring in already those topics at a secondary school level. So young people in our country need to be able to be capacitated with those skills. Most young people leave school not even knowing what a tax return is. But suddenly when they get into the work world, they must know what a tax return is. They leave school not knowing what a financial statement is. So these are the things that we must already start inculcating in young people at a secondary school level and ensure that our education system enables that. But I'm saying for those who are already in business, let's stop with the training stuff. Give them capital so they can grow their businesses and ensure that you don't put barriers in place for them to scale their businesses. If a person needs to access a municipal approval to be able to develop a property for their business, it should not take 18 months for the local municipality to give you a municipal approval for that to happen. I've heard of instances where business owners are just flat out denied, or they're waiting for 3 years to get a local approval from the council. That is what slows business down.
Just to close off, Rise Mzansi's message to the people of Gauteng.
We have a serious leadership crisis in our country right now. And on the 29th of May, we have an opportunity to take back our power as the citizens of Gauteng and the citizens of this country. And I'm calling on every single citizen and saying, let's not be victims. Let's not imagine that the same people that caused the problem are somehow going to be able to fix the problem. That does not make sense. We need new leaders. And the only way we can get new leaders who have a vision for our country, leaders who care about our country, who care about our citizens, who are themselves capable and competent, the only way we can get new leaders is if we vote for new leaders on the 29th of May. And I am raising my hand, of course, to stand as the Premier of Gauteng and looking to the citizens of Gauteng to make that happen.
Okay. Just a quick thing for us as Gauteng Network, just to say to the people of Gauteng, networking together. Right there.
Okay. Gauteng, networking together.
Thank you very much, everybody.